Bill's guest tonight from Boys and Girls, Heather Donahue. Comedian Eddie Izzard. The West Wing's Bradley Whitford. And radio talk show host Holly McClure.
A film critic for Crosswalk.com, a contributor to the Fox Movie Show, and the co-host of Gay PRZ's Holly McClure Live. Holly McClure, right over here. Holly. Hey, Bill. Hey, thank you. Good to see you. All right, one of the very fine stars of the very fine show, The West Wing, Wednesdays at 9 on another network. Bradley Whitford, I love this show. It's Josh. I love that West Wing. A star of the upcoming movie Shadow of the Vampire. His Circle comedy tour hits LA's Henry Fonda Theater this weekend. Eddie Izzard is back with us. Eddie. How are you, sir? God save the Queen. She is one of the stars of the phenomenal Blair Witch Project. Her new movie, Boys and Girls, opens tomorrow. Heather Donahue. Heather. Hey. How are you? Wow. Thank you very much. All right. And these are guests for another show. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about political correctness, oddly enough, because I mentioned this in the monologue the other day. The National Alliance for the Mentally Ill is protesting Jim Carrey's new movie, Me, Myself, and Irene. They say it is insensitive to people with multiple personality disorders, which is, by the way, not the same thing as schizophrenia. And they sent us this writer's guide about a year ago. It's from the National Stigma Clearinghouse. And it says you can't use words like schizo, psycho, wacko, loony bin, insane asylum, funny farm. You know, with wackos like this out there, how can I not use these words, is what I'm saying.
Are they saying you can't use it, or people shouldn't?
This is a guide for people in television to set an example on the public airwaves that we should all be a little more sensitive to people who are nuts.
They're schizophrenic.
Now, they are.
They're schizophrenic.
They are. I would remind them this is a Farrelly Brothers movie, you know.
And it offends everyone, Bill. I mean, midgets will be offended, albinos will be offended,
You've
children
seen
will be...
this?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And everyone will be offended.
Right, because you're a film critic. Right.
Everyone will be offended. No one will walk out of there feeling
But is it funny?
They're funny moments, yes. Very offensive, but they're very funny moments. It's the
These are the guys
so...
who made, you know, something about Mary.
Exactly.
But it's entertainment. They made a lot of money.
The problem is not when you're laughing at a Jim Carrey movie about schizophrenia. The problem is when people are laughing at a documentary about schizophrenia. That would be a problem.
Right.
And certainly the Farrelly Brothers are not a documentary.
No, they're not.
I believe their last
not.
movie is about a woman who used semen as hair gel.
But you know what? You know what? There's something about Mary had a sweetness to it. I mean, even though there was some bizarre things that happened and funny, it still had a sweet story. This is just a bizarre story, and Jim Carrey's me in this movie. So, I mean, he offends everyone. So, trust me, albinos will protest, midgets will protest.
You can't call them midgets, though.
Well, they do in the movie. Black midgets.
I thought people have restricted
They call them midgets in the movie. That's what they say. So I'm saying, I'm naming who'll be offended from the movie.
Yeah. But I was saying, if the clearinghouse is saying you can't say all these words, they've got to come up with some words for people who cut you up on the road and you want to lean out the window and say, hey, you... And you've got to have something to say. You whack, you really bad driving type person that doesn't work. We need alternative swear words, cuss words.
But Eddie, I have to tell you, you know, England is worse than America. I mean, you think we're politically correct, and we are, and it's got to stop. But England, listen to this.
But before you say that,
do you know what?
Bill, can I just say, I think politically correct is the bad term. It's a media term, and it is a censorship. It cuts in.
It's paranoia.
It should be positive attitude. It should be open-ended, PA, positive attitude, and that you can move that. But political correct is bad.
Well, listen to this, Mother. In Gloucester, England, they now have undercover bigot police. You talk about Big Brother. They talk police who sit in a restaurant and try to overhear the conversations of people. One man has already been arrested for inappropriate table talk.
That's the charge?
That's the charge. Another one was mimicking an Indian waiter. Well, if you can't make fun of ethnic waiters, you know, Why do you think we go to those restaurants? It's not the food.
But doesn't this just go to show why the First Amendment is so important and why so many people come to this country?
Yes.
We have those freedoms. No one else has them.
I mean, England,
and as many problems as there are with it, it's still ultimately
Do we
is a
really
freedom
have
that
those freedoms? John Rocker's out of a job because he's a...
John Rocker was not sent down until he wasn't pitching well.
That's the lie
And he also
that the
wasn't
Atlanta
arrested.
Braves tell you.
Yeah, if he was pitching, if he was at the top of his game, they would have kept him up there.
That's ridiculous.
He's a schmuck. He shouldn't get fired.
He was a schmuck. He got
He's
fired
an idiot.
because he's a schmuck. He had a bad stretch of pitching. He was one of the best pitchers. Anybody else with his record who wasn't speaking the way he spoke would not have been sent down. That was a cover story. He's pitching badly.
But he
Come
wasn't
on.
put in jail. He still wasn't arrested. He might have lost his job, but he wasn't arrested like this guy in this restaurant for imitating an Indian waiter.
Well, first of all, who is defining what is derogatory or not? Who's defining what is bigoted or not? Who's making up the rules so that we know even where to start from? Who's setting the standards for this? I mean, if we get so sensitive to the fact that someone says something, what happened to just ignoring the person and saying, sorry, I don't believe that way, or I don't want to think that
Rocker
way,
was
and
saying,
ignoring
like,
it.
you know, faggot, Jew, you know, I mean, it was pretty clear.
And it's not right, okay? But did it really hurt anyone? I mean,
who's
really,
to
did
say
it
this
hurt
guy-
someone?
Even if it does.
I mean, even if it...
Who's to say the guy's not giving a tribute because he loves the melodic quality of the Indian accent? How do we know it's not a tribute to the Indian waiter? Why?
Yeah.
Well,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Sure.
Why are we so passionate?
I give a melodic tribute to Indian food about 2 hours after I eat it.
But from experience, would you say that's what he's going to do? I doubt that. You know, because it would have been. That's for me is most pure racism. Much more.
But who does it hurt?
So do you want to arrest Hank Azaria for doing the voice of a poo on The Simpsons? You know,
But no, did the Indian guy even hear it? I mean, if you've got a policeman sitting there writing down comments what people say in their own privacy of a red dinner in a restaurant.
That's not the point. Even if it does hurt somebody, the government isn't here to stop all hurts.
Exactly.
Okay,
My point.
There is hurt in life.
Amen.
I agree
The government's
with you.
only here to prevent physical hurt, robbery, rape, being beaten. Okay, not. You know, what happened to sticks and stones?
I mean,
That's true. That's true. I agree with you.
I think what happens in the real world on the street is just going to happen. No one's going to legislate against that. And what happens in government shouldn't, and television and media shouldn't be using racist terms. And there should be laws on that.
And I agree with you on this as it applies to, like, hate crimes. I mean, I think that it's a very scary, slippery slope to go down, that you prosecute someone differently for what they're thinking.
Yes,
I mean,
what
it should be part of the process, but it's certainly...
Well, then you are a very good actor, because you convinced me of the opposite when you play your character.
Well, they were paying me.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we were talking about... yeah, whatever. Whatever. I was going to say words that hurt. Often, as we were saying, you know, it really isn't a matter for the law. It doesn't affect your life. But here's a case where it really did. I don't know how many are familiar. There is a college called Beaver College. Okay? I do not bring this up for any cheap joke. This is a story in the news. And the story is that they are having to change their name. I mean, they have been there since 1853. And, of course, people have made jokes. Beaver has taken it for its name.
Oh.
But they just voted their board 23-1 to change their name to something else, anything else. Because it's not the jokes. It's the fact that people can't apply anymore because of internet filters. The internet filters out that word. They see that word, beaver, and so kids who want to know about...
Beaver College.
But yes, kids who might want to get into Beaver can't.
I thought the problem...
Boy, are they right.
I thought the problem was the case that people were going for Beaver College and it was coming up with like 99 sex sites and then
Exactly.